All right. Well, welcome to the show. I often ask athletes at the start of this, like, what's their why for competing in HYROX? But for you, like, coming much more from a coaching perspective, what is the why for the coaching side of things for you?
I think the main side is that in my former career as a rower, just in the junior state, I missed out the coach that maybe I am today or still becoming today. And I'm very happy to, yeah, um, do what I do right now because I want to do better than I received the coaching that days when I was an athlete. So this is my main focus right now.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. I often I come from a football like soccer background, and I do often think like the if through different teams that I played in, like the impact that the coach had, and
Yeah.
uh, like how that might have impacted me in the future if you just had a different coach for a few years. That's like almost becoming the person you wish you had is a really interesting take. Um,
Definitely.
so what? So you touched on it, but I was going to ask you your sporting background. So from a young age, you were rowing, were you?
Exactly. Yeah. So I
Okay,
started with rowing when I was 11 years old and did it till I became 19, nearly 20. And then I switched over to more yeah, fun sport style like wakeboarding and snowboarding. But the rowing was the main part in my youth and in the early stages of being here, kind of like 18, 19. And yeah, it was my whole life, you could say, in that days. Just training, rowing, sleeping, eating not too much because I was a lightweight rower, so I can cope with very few calories. I learned it, and it was quite a hard time because, yeah, doing any kind of weight category in any sports is an additional challenge, I guess.
hmm What sort of level were you at rowing?
It was a national level, yeah. I took,
Okay,
and this is what I already overcome. Maybe we come to that later. It was just a bronze medal in the nationals. So it
okay.
was kind of like a trauma, yeah, and I need to overcome it now as a coach. And I already did. So I really invested a lot because that was my main focus and my motivation.
You mean sorry, by trauma you mean third place wasn't good enough for you? Is that what you
Wasn't good.
mean?
It wasn't good enough at all. Yeah. So there
Okay,
was a little talent to go on to the Olympic Games because there was one boat class only because the lightweights were skipped out more and more during the years, and it still keeps going that the Olympic boat classes are still reduced, and yeah, there was a little chance, but I had no one, and this is the main thing which I really missed out is a coach explaining to me the U23 years and how to go through those 4 years and really becoming a professional sportsman. And so I concentrated more on my studies, becoming a coach, and I studied sports science, and yeah, decided to do just fun sports and concentrate on the coaching side.
okay. So the thing you think you were missing from a coach was guiding you through those years appropriately, is it?
Exactly. I think it would just been one explanation. Those 4 years will be kind of like bad. You need to study, you need to travel, but maybe you have so much talent, just keep going. So the motivation and the explanation, and maybe this is why I explain a lot, and some guys and athletes and female athletes will, I think, laugh right now. And yes, he's always explaining too much, blah 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 blah. But yeah, I think I missed that one. That maybe would have kept me going.
Okay, okay. So I guess um the appreciation from the coach that like understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and maybe there's a longer timeline to it than the
Exactly.
youngsters typically might
Yeah.
want. If you understood that when you were young, then you might have stuck with it longer.
Definitely. And I think this always refers, or already refers to maybe some of those HYROX athletes, or maybe it's just helpful to speak it out anyways, because real success maybe will take some time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so from like you studied sports science, you got into the coaching side of things. Can you tell us? And obviously, like I know you from HYROX, but can you talk about your coaching experience, like up to HYROX? What have you done? What have you been in?
Yeah, I had the chance, and this was a big step for me to coach the German rowing meant eights, so the so-called Deutschlandachter for 4 years, one Olympic cycle from 2018 to 2021 in Tokyo. And yeah, we achieved a silver medal, so this is quite a good result, I guess. And I think this is a dream for many athletic coaches to participate on such a result.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing, amazing experience. I remember, uh, I don't know if it's from your website or like we were talking before this. Marcus
Yeah.
Funken has helped out a lot with the prep for this, but
Yeah,
there were
just go
there
out
were
to Marcus. Yeah.
definitely there were uh I think on your website though, this one was that how small technical adjustments led to big gains in
Yeah.
that team, in the rowing team. And maybe this is like getting into to the weeds too much of rowing, but are there any examples of what those small technical adjustments were, and then like, how they helped the team a lot?
Yeah, just maybe one step before to motivate all the listeners is when you when you start training for something and you get better, you're of course very motivated, but be patient maybe with your coach or maybe with yourself or maybe both, because imagine rowing, they row kind of like 24 kilometers twice a day in the boat with 8 people, and it's not that they need to become fitter, they are working on kind of like millimeters, yeah, to get even more synchronized and stuff like this. And yeah, this is what it's all about. And in the strength room, we yeah, worked on cleans and power cleans, measuring the curve of the barbell, and really did everything to get better in self-awareness, movement efficiency, and therefore being able to train heavier. But or not but um, what makes this possible is you directly have the better movement, you can train harder, and in addition, you do directly more injury prevention. So this is my where I always look for the double plus thing in coaching and in training.
Mm-hmm. Is it hard when you're working with like Olympic rowers? They're very fit guys. They want to push themselves. Is it hard to get them to focus on like maybe boring things like that, like those little millimeter adjustments, rather than just like going hard all the time? Is that hard for you as a coach?
Um, to be honest, not with those guys, but because they were very motivated and they had some titles to defend. No, this group was simply awesome. Everybody of those, but what's very interesting, and this is my experience right now, and I think we can just share some insights of the HYROX athletes I'm able to coach, is they are all quite different. And there are guys, you tell them just what to do, and they say, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. And there are a lot of guys, and maybe those are the more successful ones. They always ask, why should I do it? Why?
Mm-hmm.
Explain it to me. Yeah, and I like those. I like both types, to be honest, because the one is so just kind of a little bit, yeah, not dumb, but it's very easy just doing it. And both athletes, both sorts of athletes are again that you have two types of both. That when you, for example, want to explain a movement or make it better, then there is one when you ask, "Do you feel the improvement?" He looked at you and said, "No." And the other one, "Yeah, great stuff. Blah 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 blah. Let's do it again." So it's really really difficult as a coach. Who do I have there? Yeah, um, and it wasn't just 8 people there because we had the eighth. Then was the coxless four, the pair, and the spare um, men. So it was up to 22 people. Yeah, and this is quite a lot testosterone in the weight room. Yeah, and you need to kind of like arrange everything and so on. And but it was an awesome time, to be honest. Yeah,
Okay, okay. You saying about athletes questioning him while they're doing it. It reminds me, I remember Anthony Perricini said that about Lauren Weeks, like when he gives us something like, he can't just give her something just that's a tough workout. She'll be questioning exactly
I can imagine.
why she's got to do it. Yeah. Uh, and referencing Marcus again, he said that you're the kind of guy who will answer a simple yes or no question with a 15-minute monologue in a voice message. Like
Exactly. He experiences by himself. Maybe it's a little bit exaggerated, but yeah, I'm quite fast at kind of like 5 to 8 minutes. Yeah, but to be honest, it's really, really helpful. Yeah, and invest this knowledge in an athlete is really widening the base of understanding what am I doing there, why am I doing this, and then maybe pushing a little bit harder or a little bit more fine-tuned gets even more, yeah, kind of like normal, I would say. Yeah.
Did you spend time in CrossFit as well before coming into HYROX?
Just regarding weightlifting, because I decided to specialize. I did a CrossFit level 1 when it was, I can say it, I think it was 2013, and then specialized in weightlifting. Since 9 years, I'm holding an Olympic A license in weightlifting for Germany. And this is also part of my coaching for the men's eights of the Deutschlandachter. So it's more about Olympic weightlifting from my
Okay.
side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how did HYROX come about?
It was a colleague of mine. It was Timo who saw it when we entered it mainly, but the story started a little bit earlier, or much earlier, to be honest. But I didn't realize what HYROX was all about because I was still in that rowing thing and weightlifting for CrossFit. Because I think it was Karina. He said, "You need to coach Luke Storath." And Luke Storath was in that club here. I think it was 2019, I guess. But it didn't match really. So I had a very early contact, I would say, with HYROX, but I focused more on the weightlifting stuff. And later on, it was my colleague, Timo, in 2022. I think he started doing HYROX by himself. And Toby Lautwein got world champion. I'm not quite sure which year it was. And yeah, the hype went through our coaching scene. And yeah, I definitely, when I do something, I really get into the rabbit hole. What's this discipline all about? And being a rower, and of course, knowing the ski erg, I had the Model A ski erg. I don't know when it was. I think it was 2007. Yeah, HYROX didn't exist. I was already ski erging, for example. And knowing how to coach athletic movements and doing personal training kind of like since 2008. Yeah, I'm quite flexible in coaching athletic movements, I would say. And then Toby came on the scene because Timo asked him to do a masterclass for HYROX with us, and he came and did the mindset part. And I said, "What about your rowing? Let's have a look at it. May I help you?" Something like this. And we, yeah, were really on a same wavelength. And I showed it to him, and he was really, holy, I thought I did something good at the row erg, but it could even be better. And this is how we started to work together. And it played out quite well to really getting together. But the season where we really were on the scene and improving Toby's, especially strength skills, becoming his twins, was, yeah, simply too sick too often.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so over time you came to work with Linda as well.
Yeah, it was Toby, of course, because we had a session. I went to Toby by car, and he just said while I was going there, and today Linda Meier will join us. You don't know her, but she definitely needs to improve her rowing too. And
Okay.
it was the race after, or which one was it? I think it was Chicago. I'm not quite sure. And 2023. And yeah, her rowing was really not perfect. And we did a session, and afterwards, it was the race in, I think, Washington, much better. So yeah, it took me kind of like 4 to 6 months because she was really one of those athletes. Why? Why shall I do it? I did it other or different before, and was successful with it and feel good about it. And now you want to change it? Yeah, this was definitely something I needed, or she was one where I need to explain quite a lot. Yeah.
Was it primarily rowing that you were working on with her initially, or was it the
Um,
whole thing?
no, the complete package was like watching her move, and she was definitely missing out kind of like speed force, yeah, so power development and stuff like this. And then also worked on for example, power cleans and muscle snatches, and we also worked a lot on her running style to get more efficient, because I think this is one of the main parts in HYROX, like in triathlon, where you need to do your movements super efficient, because saving energy makes you really faster.
Mm.
Because you cannot train any more and more and more with a bad movement. This is, for example, where the name strong move comes from, because just a good movement can be a strong or a fast movement. Yeah, so you really need to kind of like become perfect, or as perfect as possible with your movement. And this is for me where neuro-athletic training, for example, comes into play to really make it perfect. Or at first look, why isn't it perfect?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to get into that in a minute, like the neuroathletic side of things and the training, the movement. But let's just, while we're talking about HYROX and Linda, like we're relatively recently after Chicago, where she won the world championship. So
Yeah, awesome.
congratulations! I know
Thank you
you
very
obviously
much.
played a big part in that yourself. Did you think it was possible before the race for her to win?
Yeah, I need to say possible is anything, but to be honest to all of you guys is I went there and said vice world champion is definitely possible, because there are just other humans racing and anything can happen. So let's play it out. And I knew that her kind of like ground speed is what I say to this. Her ground speed is much faster than ever before, and this is why positively from our side anything is possible. And then hey, it's a race, and really like racing. Like rowing is a race. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
don't come to me with play sports. Of course I would help any athlete, yeah, if he wants to improve, but I definitely like racing. So this is my type of game. Yeah.
Okay. What was
And
your immediate feeling when after the win? Was it disbelief? Was it satisfaction? Was it just elation?
yeah, let me tell you from one feeling during the race, because yeah, it was quite awesome going out and being in the fourth place and seeing Linda run, because I can see definitely how she feels, and that there was that it was kind of like sovereign going with those guys. And yeah, then taking first place during the burpees was, of course, very awesome. But then was the moment where I got really nervous. Can she keep it? How will she behave? But we had the moment in one race last year where she led the whole race for the first time and didn't know how to pace and what shall I do? No, there were no measurements for her, or any points which she can relate to. And this is where we really worked a lot on regarding pacing and self-awareness and self-esteem also. Yeah, that it really is possible. So mindset plays a big role too, of course, in my style of coaching. Um, and yeah, it played out quite well. So when she led, I stood there and just kind of like watched to the ceiling and said, "Okay, fate, let's play it out and give us what we came for." And that it's really had been the first place. So awesome, perfect
Yeah,
day.
yeah, amazing. When I spoke with Till Schenk on here, he said like Linda has there's a couple of looks, but like she had a smile through that race
Yeah,
that showed like it was not just a I'm happy to smile. It was like I know I'm in control here. I know I'm doing well here. Sort of look on her face. It was,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Seeing her smile maybe on the last round of running. Wall balls can happen anything. There, she's really, really, yeah, not scared, but has respect for those wall balls because anything can happen. But having fun in such a race and world championship final, this is what it's all about. And maybe I need to get or take this chance being here. A big shout out to Toby, because he always said, when I'm not having fun, I would quit. And when we would have met maybe kind of like 6 years before, I was just the coach having Olympic sports athletes. You can tell them anything because they are kind of like of professionals and they get paid. They need to do what I'm talking about. But this is completely different in HYROX. It's all about fun. And Toby guided me to how can we have fun and still work together on my kind of like detailed coaching style. And he kind of like paved the road for being able to cope with Linda, I would say,
Mm,
to
yeah.
make it really perfect for her. Yeah.
Funnily enough, like we're recording this on at the end of August. Like I've just released an episode with Dylan Scott,
Yeah.
and he says a similar thing actually. Like he's like, when I'm very fit, but also when I'm like experiencing joy and having fun in a race, like that's when it makes him very hard to beat. And
Yeah.
but if you get in
The
your own
fun,
way, get in your head, then yeah.
definitely, definitely. When you lack fun in this sport, you're definitely gonna lack energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, imagine the curve. You need to be a little bit of excited, of course, for before the race, but not too much. And when you have fun and are a little excited, I think that's the perfect match.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice similar qualities between Linda and like Toby? Tobias Lautwein, by the way, for people that aren't sure who we're referring to when we talk about Toby, but are there do they have similar qualities, the two of those?
Yeah, this was quite impressive because they both understood each other very well and are friends. And this was no coincidence that they met each other, and maybe I could join them, yeah, via Toby, and get to know Linda like this. Um, yeah, like I said, they share the same spirit of having fun and still combining, I would say, super performance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think there are some athletes or a lot of just age group athletes who should have maybe a little more fun and then perform maybe even better, not being too aggressively pushing for better results, for example. So take it easy. Just maybe think a little bit more. Do your training a little bit smarter, and then it's the definitely better combination.
They both seem as well to me like quite controlled through a race, like especially Toby. Like they're not the sort to go out
Yeah,
super fast and push themselves
exactly.
from the start. Like it's, I guess part of that is like having fun and have trust in your abilities and trust in your pace and everything like that. They seem similar from that perspective as well.
Definitely. They both have in common that starting a race definitely a bit more defensive
Mm-hmm.
and taking it more controlled into the second half. Yeah. But this is
Yeah.
no secret,
No,
I guess.
no. Let's get into the training a little bit, and you've touched on it already, but neuro-athletics and Linda very briefly mentioned it when I spoke to her as well. But can you tell us what that is, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to explain it. Um, every movement gets steered by the brain. Yeah, every movement comes from the brain, you could easily say. And you can coach like push harder, run faster, whatever, yeah, and do the best program. But when the movement or kind of like the threat system of your brain doesn't allow it to, because, for example, your input, I will explain it, is not good enough, then the outcome can't never be 100%. Yeah, and the input factors are eyes, vestibular system, and proprioception, and the the actual numbers are kind of like the eyes are important, are mostly important regarding 45% of input. The vestibular system, so your inner ear, 35%, and the proprioception, where am I in the room, how are my joints positioned, and stuff like this, skin sensitivity and stuff like this, is at 20%. So when you know this, and this steers or regulates the output, which is possible anyways, then you need to reflect on why is, or you start to think different. And I watched it kind of like 2 years from 2017, where it started to grow in Germany, and then I definitely saw this is worth it, and I start to learn this from 2019 on, and it played out very well. So the brain likes to be synchronized with each half, so right half and left half, and when there are parts that are not activate or not active on one side, or maybe both sides, the motor output is not perfect. So we're looking for how can we activate it. So at first, the first step is what is not active, and then how can we activate it without threatening the brain. So it shouldn't be too complicated. So this is quite, or I would say super efficient, looking for this and then getting some perfect activation drills. For example, maybe some of you guys saw it already, doing Linda doing the one leg vestibular exercise prior to the race, because this activates her very much in the right areas. Yeah, and this plays a part in movement efficiency, saving energy, and moving well and faster. So what else do we want? It played out perfectly.
Okay, so just for people that couldn't see that, this, and I've seen Linda doing it, but she's essentially got her arm straight out in front of her with a thumb up. And can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on there, or like is it easy to describe for people to do themselves? Can they benefit from that themselves, or does it
Not
take?
really, because it's super individual, because we need to check who is missing what. And this is, of course, very individual. If you maybe had an accident someday or whatever, or your daily life is very unilateral, for example, um, then yeah, areas in the brain get kind of like pulled down in the activation, and we need to find them and activate them. So regarding Linda, it's the reflexive stability from the brainstem we need to activate. Then she's more stable in the whole running pattern, and also in doing squats, for example, this refers to. But you need to definitely check it, eyes, inner ear, and proprioception, yeah, super individually, because there is no such thing which everybody can do like this.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So you're doing like assessments on an athlete
exactly.
in
Yeah,
different movements, different requirements of the race, and seeing how
yeah,
they move through those, and then
yeah.
doing
Exactly.
activation drills and corrective exercises and things to address those. Eh?
Perfectly explained. Exactly. And there have been some repeated scenarios. For example, it was in HYROX Karlsruhe, where Linda did a double with Timo. So, of course, every race is important, but there are more important ones.
Mhm.
But also there, I want her to do those exercises, and it was quite chill for her, of course, because she wasn't, yeah, nervous at all. And she just did her warm-up runs, and then I decided to, please do your exercise. And then she just started running again and turned around and looked me in the eyes and said, why is that so impactful? Yeah, because it changed completely, because she was so relaxed, and we need to activate it. And this we had also at the Deutschlandachter training, athletic training. For example, people activating their cerebellum, so um, the the muscle tone of all muscles who get what is it, straightening your joints, get more active. For example, you do better squatting. Yeah, and this is super important for rowing, of course, or for training more efficient for rowing. And yeah, to see this outcome makes me happy, simply at that. And when I see this lightness in our running, referring it now to the world champion final, I'm super proud that this played out so well.
Okay. So is it like I appreciate you're very into movement, efficiency, and technique and things. Then we just had like a running technique coach on here. It from your perspective is like a lot of movement and technique. It goes beyond thinking about whether you land with, you know, heel strike or forefoot and feet
Yeah,
under the hips and things like that. It's
but
beyond
also
that
super
almost.
important. Yeah.
It's important, but there's like maybe another layer to it that maybe is missed, or even on the rower, like the typical rowing technique advice. Is there would you say it's fair to say like neuroathletics is like another layer to that? There's more
Yeah,
about the proprioception and the eyesight and things like that as well.
definitely. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So is if people want to read up more on neuroathletics, is there a place that they should go? Is it just a simple Google or what?
I would recommend Google for especially a Z Health trainer. So this is where it all comes from. So Z minus health. And there you can go for neuroathletic trainers to look for. Maybe we can create a little hype for neuroathletic training here, because it's definitely refers also to getting older, healthier, because you know the people who are walking around and kind of like hanging to one side with the body all the time and getting slower and slower. And this has also something to do with deficient areas in your brain. Yeah, because they are not active enough to keep you kind of like straight. For example, imagine a gymnast. They are always kind of like straight because they do a lot of complex movements that refer to the cerebellum, for example, and it kind of like strengthens your muscles so that you get a very active muscle tone to really stay upright. And of course, we all lacking this during we age, and so this is two steps in one, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Is
getting older, healthier.
is a lot of Linda's work? You sort of mentioned activation exercises, which are presumably before a training session or a race, but is a large percentage of a training around this type of thing, and is it whatever in the same way, like is it certain exercises that are more like, I don't know, mobility focused? Maybe that's the wrong word, but is it like rather than you just saying going to run 8x1K, with 60 seconds rest or something like that? Is there? Would you say there's a larger percentage of her work into more like this side of things and the preparation than other athletes?
I don't think so, because the amount of neuro-applied exercises is very small just in the beginning of a session or a race. Because
Okay.
when you already figured it out, and this is my style of programming too, um, skip an exercise as fast as possible when it's completely implemented. So regarding, for example, athletic training or strength training, um, of course you need to have a base which is running, but of course we have a lot of exercises that refer to one another or that build or should build up to one movement. And then of course we skip directly all those little too detailed things as soon as possible to even stay as efficient as possible in the programming too. So the figuring out what is really right, like I already mentioned, this takes quite a lot of time, because brain is quite complicated and you need to search the areas which need to be more activated. But when you found them, it directly happens because the brain is super fast. You need to activate it and it's there. And then, of course, you need to train this. So you activate and train the movement. You activate and train the movement, because you cannot activate and say, okay, it's there forever, because you kind of like need to do 40 hours of work um, as fast as possible in the training time. Then it's really implemented.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is
Okay.
what we are looking for, and not too varying too much, but yeah, increasing complexity or specificity as as soon as possible. But of course, yet now into direction of, for example, Hamburg, not too early.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is when I spoke with Linda, I think it was quite eye opening for a lot of people in that her training volume is actually one of the lowest in the elites.
Yeah, definitely, yes.
I think it was like 8.5 hours a week, maybe of training, and
Yeah,
you have a lot of people on here that 20, 25 hours a week.
definitely.
Is that? Do you feel like this work that you're doing is because it becomes the work that she's doing becomes much more efficient, and so there's less need for that sort of volume? Is that fair, or is it just because she's busy?
Mm, it could be that even if she wouldn't have a job or would be a full-time athlete, that we wouldn't do much more. Maybe we would maybe look for even more details to make it even more efficient. But of course, we would use the time also for some more strength training or more complex movements. But for example, Olympic lifts regarding you have a complex movement, so the cerebellum is very active, and you do strength training in one movement, which is very effective, of course. But I think, yeah, the time we have regarding Linda having a full-time job, we used very, very well. So the efficiency was quite perfect. Yeah.
Are there certain areas of the race that you focus on more than others? Like, is it the running gets a lot of the focus, or is it the wall balls? Is it burpees? Is there some things that you just don't think are worth focusing on too much?
Mm, yeah, the priorities I needed to figure out, and it took me kind of like 6 months from the beginning of the work with Linda to really what is it all about? Where are the main weaknesses? But to be honest, the first 6 months were more about trust. She trusting me, really recommending the right things. It was quite a travel, I would say. But after Nice, it was the perfect match working together, and she really trusts me. And when I recommend something, she tries it out. Maybe the feedback is not perfect. When I'm very sure, then I tell her keep pushing. Please keep trying this. Of course, explaining always. We did a lot of running. Although she was a very good runner already, there was a day where she sent me a video where she cut it together her old running style and her new running style. This is kind of like 6 months ago, I would say, maybe 6 months before Chicago already. And she was super impressed by herself. How did even her running, her already good running, improved? So I took this as a compliment too, and as a sign of trust too, very much from her side. And yeah, it got much easier communicating with her about those details. And yeah, we did a lot regarding sled push, of course. Maybe some of you guys remember the little disaster in Las Vegas. Yeah, but also an awesome race coming from 14th or maybe the last place. Back, and of course burpees, still rowing. Yeah, but we had a quite awesome session with big eyes, and said I never ever produce those numbers in such an easy way, and this is exactly what I'm looking for. I do not tell the numbers right now. Sorry, guys. um, but it's really working on playing out very well, and it's a lot of fun coaching her because the mixtures, like I already said, um, the fun part and the effort part and the progress part is a perfect match.
Mhm. You mentioned weightlifting, Olympic lifting. Is Linda doing a lot of that in her plan or not?
Um, Too little. Yeah, we to be honest, we didn't focus on that too much in this off season because we still focused more on the running and building the engine a little bit more precisely regarding diagnostics, so performance testing, um, and yeah, still working on the stations. And this is something where we are still able to generate even more power. So there is still room to improve.
Okay. From a running training perspective, what does that look like in terms of her like weekly like kilometer, the distance she's covering, and also is there a large percentage of zone 2 running? Are you like trying to keep her under threshold? Are you going beyond threshold? What does that look like?
I think we are kind of like around just 60 kilometers per week, plus minus 10, not more, because we figured out because of her rowing improving a lot and the ski erging, but more the rowing. Like Dylan Scott, for example, is doing too, I think. A lot of rowing he implemented. And this is really the engine builder, I would say. But yeah, kind of like around about 60 kilometers when we have a zone 2 run, emphasizing more and more on, yeah, like I already said, precising the zone 3 and zone 4 work too. But of
Okay.
course, there needs to be zone 3 and zone 4 work too,
Okay.
increasing the O2 max and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So there's a mixture of everything. Are you?
Yeah.
Is she doing like you mentioned the rower? Is that is that just from your background? You like to have her on the rower? Like, would you value that over bike sessions, for example, or not particularly?
Didn't get it. Sorry.
So in terms of like building her engine, like you said, she's not doing crazy volume of the running because you can build the engine on the rower. Would you prefer she was rowing to bike for HYROX, or you'd be happy
Um,
with either?
we are super um, defensive with her legs anyways, so with the leg movements at all. So doing squats, running, rowing, and biking, we are super defensive and giving her legs a lot of resting time. So then for example, the skier comes into play, and this is really from week to week, and even from day to day communication. How do you feel and what do we do next?
Mm-hmm.
So of course I have a scheme, a weekly scheme, and I'm always and she's bringing ideas into too, a lot of, because then she feels perfectly fine doing a lot of programming by herself, and then I'm steering it a little bit out. But the main work is really deciding from day to day.
Okay.
This is really crazy because when something happens at work, for example, a super exhausting day, we switch program. This is what we're really taking care of a lot. And this is a lot of communication work and brain work and steering out the weekly outcome itself really on a daily basis.
Okay. Interesting. And then just like one fairly basic question on the row, but do you like obviously you're a very advanced rower and row coach. Do you feel like it should be approached any differently for HYROX? Like in the consideration of like, are you trying to save the legs a little bit more in HYROX than you would be if it was just a pure rowing competition?
So I would answer like everybody out there, if you would row technically better, you can use it more as a training tool as now. Yeah, so the emphasis in rowing training at all, technically and maybe in volume, and in steering it out, and maybe also doing performance testing on a rower, especially, would be kind of like perfect. Yeah, because then you could use it much more, really building your engine, because using the whole body and mainly the legs, but the whole body, and then transferring this to running makes it super efficient. For example, we have rowers, former German lightweight rower Jason Osborne, um, to mention. He switched into professional cycling and directly got a contract and got UCI World Indoor Champion, World Indoor Cycling Champion. So this is quite impressive. A rower just switching to cycling and being there at the top place.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine this: what rowing could do to your engine.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Linda's very good at the sled pull. Like you mentioned the Vegas race, if I remember rightly, she clawed back a lot of spaces at the sled pull. Is there any secrets, any tips that you can give us on the sled pull that you think maybe a lot of people miss or get wrong?
Mm, she has a little advantage because she's quite tall. Yeah. So pulling the rope a little bit further from the ground makes it easier. I'm not quite sure if anyone noticed this difference yet, but it definitely plays a role, I would say. But not really. So I would recommend always to throw away the rope, yeah, and pick it up. But this refers to mobility, and this is what I was super happy about. That before we met each other, Linda did a lot of mobility work. So her mobility regarding squats, so referring to wall balls, ankle mobility, thoracic spine mobility, shoulder mobility is simply perfect. Yeah, for example, working on both splits, um, and nearly being able to do it makes your hip perfectly mobile, also for movement efficiency. And this is picking up the rope and being in a perfect pulling position already. And this is easy for her, makes it so efficient, I would guess.
Okay.
So there are no real secrets regarding sled pull, I would say. Just keep that thing moving and yeah, not pull with the arms, of course. It needs to be the body. But to be honest, no secrets. Just just do it and like save energy as good as you can, but not taking the rope like this, yeah, and grab it, just put it away, pick it up again, and directly go into the upright body position and walk backwards.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
simple as
yeah,
that.
yeah. Because the keeping moving through the
Yeah,
sled pull, I think, is an important one. And like just to pick up on what you just touched on is like being in that position to pull it as soon as you pick up the rope, I
yeah,
guess is it what helps you to do that.
exactly. Maybe from a coach's point of view, is pulling movements and breathing are more complex than pushing movements. Pushing movements and breathing is we are quite used to. For example, take simple bench press, and breathing. People are kind of like used to it, it's natural. But refer to, for example, pull-ups. Yeah, complete different movement
Mm-hmm.
regarding breathing. So maybe it could be really helpful to focus and train your breathing during your sled pull. Could improve it a lot.
Okay, interesting. It's quite a long season for the elites and everyone really potentially if they want to race a lot. Do you want Linda to do all of the majors, which will start in a few weeks' time in like in Hamburg and then go through to like the worlds in June? Do you want her to do all of those? Are you concerned about her racing too often, peaking too much or too early or anything like that?
Um, no, I'm quite sure that we will do all the majors. Of course, it depends on the results, qualifying for Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
This is the main focus again, naturally. But I think because the timing is quite well, I would say. So we can peak and train and peak and train. Um, and of course, it depends on the results and how she feels and stuff like this. Maybe we could skip one or maybe even two, depending on how soon we qualify for Worlds. If we qualify for Worlds, I'm super defensive with this, but so not to be arrogant or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Setting of course we will do it. Let's see what happens. Everybody's training and getting better, and yeah, let's see what our Hamburg plays out. Yeah.
But you don't you're not necessarily one of these people that might say like you've got to have this um try and really ramp up things just for the last 3 months of the year and like really like I guess periodize the year, or are you more of the approach that you can be ready to go at all times throughout the year? Do you
Mm,
understand?
I
Maybe
think
I've not
yeah,
phrased
yeah,
that
I
well.
definitely get it. So definitely we could do all the majors. with the body and the setting we have right now, like those programming those ups and downs and peaking. Um, but like I said, depending on how it plays out and what we need to do, and maybe when I figure out a special weakness or what we um, um, need to do to really stay on top, then it could be that I say, let's skip that one because then we need a bigger training block. That definitely could happen, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But
Do you use?
it could be that she said, no, I want to race because it makes fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it's the same sort of kind of like discussion I already mentioned. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. 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 Do you use much technology in the training? Are you tracking HRV, heart rate? Are you doing threshold testing, anything like that?
We do simple performance testing with a mask, so VO2 max testing. This is what we do, and tracking. But like I said, we're communicating nearly each day, and this is where I get a real good feeling. And she by herself had a really, really good self-awareness, so this makes it much more easier for me. Um, in comparison, for example, the athletes I mentioned already. Do you feel this? No. She feels kind of like everything. I think this is part of being such a good athlete. Um, but the testing is we do simple, heart rate tracking, uh, not yet uh, zone 3 lactic acid testings or whatever. Not necessary till now. So this is what I do, and I like it as simple as possible to keep it as efficient as possible. Um, and Linda is someone, too much testing, I think would make her nervous.
Mhm.
But when I think this is necessary and explain it to her, then it will be possible. So this is how we find the perfect match to really, yeah, just do it that it still makes fun and she's not thinking too much about those numbers. We definitely don't need it or don't need till nowadays.
Mhm.
Let's see what the future brings. Maybe to stay in the Elite 15 or stay on top makes even more testing and stuff like this necessary.
Okay. Do you have test workouts as well, or is it like I appreciate you VO2 max, but are you doing is there like a HYROX sim type thing that you get her to do and time those or not?
Not really, because I vary a lot and take my information out of this. Because, like I said, with these numbers, if we had something like this, then Linda would directly refer to, okay, how fit am I? And it could make her kind of like with more self-esteem or even make her nervous. Yeah,
Mhm.
so we go a lot of which pace was I able to run today, and as long as they are increasing and she has a good feeling and feels fine and has fun doing this, and also being fast on the stations, we are super happy. But yeah, this would definitely be a disadvantage, I would say, if we would measure too many results, because then it's always in her head, and this is not
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah. On that sort of subject, like obviously it's like around managing her mindset. Are you coaching athletes on mindset as well? Are you trying to tell them what to think about during the race when things are getting tough? That side of things. Are you trying to control that side of things with them?
Yeah, mindset plays a mm, even growing role, so a big role already, and it's even growing. And yeah, we're doing a mindset group for especially um, HYROX athletes, but in that group there are also just normal people with, let's say, issues or things in life they want to improve. So I do real coaching, so really psychological coaching, self-education since 2008, I guess. So this plays a big role regarding race preparation, not being too nervous. Um, I already mentioned breathing stuff, and breathing skills are super important. Um, to maybe calm down your sympathetic nervous system. Then we are in that neuro stuff again, and it all refers to each other. And definitely, yes. So with mindset coaching or just talking about things very openly, if the athlete is ready for this, and if not, I really start to mention it quite early. Yeah, for example, how someone behaves prior to a competition, or maybe even in training, but especially prior to a competition, being happy, being introverted, maybe being rude, for example, because kind of like losing control. I'm directly there because I want my athletes really to focus on themselves, being kind and patient with themselves, and yeah, try to definitely, I would even say, educate them, really being able to do so.
Hmm. You said it plays a growing role.
Mhm.
Why do you feel it's growing? Like, is it?
I think that yeah, we're talking about HYROX, and this is the most or the strongest growing sport at the world or in the world right now. Um, and everybody wants to improve, and I think we will see some people maybe burn out because not achieving the results they want to. And yeah, then being a coach, being able to really interpret what happens regarding the effort side, but also regarding the mindset side, do those two parts fit together? So is your picture of yourself really um, in a good kind of like shape with your what you're doing, what you're training with your output? And if it's not so, maybe someone is really not as fast as he thinks and behaves like a superstar, then maybe you need to talk to this guy or girl, whatever, and vice versa.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is what I'm looking for, to really just, I want to help people, help athletes do better. But when, yeah, the picture of her or himself doesn't match with the output he or she is delivering, then maybe it's a mindset thing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Um, there's a few questions we typically finish up on them, but one is like, what's the best tip someone's given you while you've been training for HYROX? Um, and obviously there's a lot. There could be a huge amount, but is there anything that you think you could share that you think maybe a lot of people miss? Is it around the movement efficiency type style of things, or is there someone else that springs to mind?
Now let's start with a quite simple one: learn pacing. Learn
Okay.
pacing your movements, learn pacing your output, become better at your self-awareness during the race.
Mm,
And then we would go into details. But it
yeah.
directly refers, of course, but definitely learn to pace yourself.
Yeah. And would you be a proponent of like trying to run fairly consistent pacing throughout a
Yeah,
HYROX?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So do not start the first round too fast. Of course, in the lead 15, you need to, yeah, because otherwise the gap gets too large. But when you do it for yourself, definitely build start solid but not too fast, and then stay sovereign in the second half of the race, and it makes much more fun. So for example, in rowing, when they do the 2K test, they can steer it out by 1/10 of a second. So they know exactly what they do. Of course, this is just one discipline, and
Hmm.
HYROX is much more complex than do a 2K test. But being able to steer out a 2K test by 1/10 of a second is really quite awesome, because you know really what you're doing, and you're not in any second, you're not in a panic mode.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is what
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
Okay. Okay. Are you planning on racing much yourself in HYROX this season?
To be honest, not really, because the German races are mostly when there is a major happening. For example, Frankfurt, then we are in Melbourne. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I definitely want to, but I started my running also too early, and was injured from January to May. I did no running, and I'm definitely not a runner, but I will do another HYROX. Maybe regarding that pause, I will do another, just an open race and then a pro race. But yeah, the pro weights are okay for me. But then, of course, my bad running gets even worse. Yeah, so I need to definitely work on this. But I'm definitely more kind of like 80% coach, 20% athlete, maybe even more. But yeah, like I said, I like racing for myself too. So I will definitely do it again. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do you have a favorite sporting moment, maybe either as an athlete or as a coach, that throughout your lifetime that stands out? Is it seeing Linda win the world championships, or is it something else?
Yeah, definitely yes. Getting into HYROX as a coach and getting those chances and putting in so much work and time and knowledge and achieving such a goal. I don't know. You guys explain it to me. Is it fate or was it good work or did everything come together? So it's quite still a little bit unreal, achieving such moments. And I think this is what every also coach or especially coach is looking for also. Um, but yeah, another moment was winning the world champion title with the men's eighth in Linz, Austria. I sat there and I think for a lot of guys was the third time in a row, and it was such a close race that I simply started crying when they crossed the finish line. So this is my way of really being into this. And yeah, of course, sitting at home because the athletic coach doesn't need to go to the Olympic Games. It's a money thing. Yeah, of course, they need to save everything. But seeing this on television and it was very close to win silver um, against the third place. I think it was Great Britain. Very super important for us. I'm not quite sure. Was stunning too. And then there is of course the after party after Olympic Games in Dortmund, and of course those are moments every coach I think is working for. I'm super thankful having achieved those two already, and yeah, let's see what's next. Fully there, or I'm really looking forward that we can achieve something more. But also a third, a second, or first place at a major race is a stunning result, or at least running in the elite 15. And I think this will be and get much harder each year right now. So it will be it will be harder each year.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Marcus said you're one of the crazy coaching super brains, and
Oh, thanks a
I can
lot,
see he's right.
you guys. Marcus, thanks for your time. I really appreciated it being here and looking forward to seeing you all, yeah, right beside the competition floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Is before we go, is there anything else I should have asked you? And also, like, do you want to tell us more about your coaching? If people want to follow you, find out more about you, where they should go?
Yeah, you can follow me directly on Instagram. It's Bjoern Schinke. It's BJOERN SCHINKE. But more simple for you guys, it's strongmove.de. This is our coaching here in Cologne, and we do remote coaching and stuff like this. Also having a podcast. It's the Strong for Life podcast. And yeah, look for our remote programming. It's the hybrid code. You can find everything on the webpage, strongmove.de. And yeah, looking forward to welcome you guys.
Awesome. All right, brilliant. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate being here.